Hello everyone, welcome back to yet another political episode. So, I was wrong. I wasn't just wrong, but I was really wrong. I hope I wasn't the only one who actually thought Joe Biden would be performing decently. Sort of like how he performed in his State of the Union. Apparently, I was wrong. I don't know if they drugged this guy up. A lot of people are saying, oh, he was still drugged up, but the drugs wore off pretty quickly or they were pretty ineffective. But Joe Biden was not like himself during the debate. He was not like the Joe Biden we knew during the State of the Union just months ago. He has changed a lot. And so he's changed so much. Like, he is now essentially giving looks. You could see this guy is clearly confused. Take a look during the first debate in 2020. This wasn't a concern at all. Joe Biden looked mentally healthy despite making some gaffes here and there. Looked mentally healthy. He wasn't looking confused. This guy looks so confused. He looks so out of it. So much that the Democrats are calling Joe Biden to drop out. They're telling him to drop out. And just for the sake of the party, for the sake of democracy, they say Joe Biden should drop out. Joe Biden, a couple hours ago, refused the calls to drop out in a recent rally, telling him, yeah, I'm still in. And to be honest, the Democrats are in a huge buckle. And they're hoping that, you know what, get Joe Biden out, get someone in there, and this some person should be pretty popular enough to take out Trump. Well, here's the thing. It doesn't necessarily work like that. First off, it would hurt the Democrat in the case because first off, you are rejecting actual election results, for starters. The Democrats want to remind us how much they love democracy. If they really love democracy, they would accept the fact that 14 million people, 14 million Democrats essentially, came out to vote for Joe Biden, 87% of the popular vote. 14 million stood in the line to vote for Biden. 14 million Democrats took part in democracy and nominated Joe Biden. Therefore, despite Joe Biden being in a mental decline, the Democrats should be like, okay, this is the consequence. We wanted Joe Biden to run again. He ran again, and he's starting to have a mental decline after he won that nomination. Oh, well, yeah, you should have considered the mental dementia decline before you decided to announce your re-election in the summer of 2023. It's just pathetic. Yeah, not a good night for Biden overall. And yeah, and essentially how this hurts Democrats is we basically say, screw the primaries, we're just going to choose the candidate in the convention. Well, that doesn't necessarily help. An election, which actually sort of happened, was in Minnesota. And this election is one of my favorite elections. It's it's actually the 2002 presidential United States Senate election. And what essentially happened was Walter Mondale, it said, replaced Paul Wellstone on the ballot, okay? Paul Wellstone won the Democrat primary pretty much unopposed, winning 93% of the popular vote. However, Wellstone ended up dying in a plane crash in St. Louis County, Minnesota. And of course, being dead and being the nominee, DFL had to choose someone else, and they ended up choosing Walter Mondale in the DFL convention. you'll be like, oh, everything should be okay. Walter Mondale is the vice president of the United States. He represented Minnesota. He should be great. He's like a huge figure in Minnesota. Well, you'll see he clearly lost to Norm Coleman, who's actually more weaker compared to Walter Mondale. And here's why. Paul Wellstone was originally leading in the polls by a lot. Now, this change was so severe because the Democrats were coming into this race, DFL was coming into this race with expectation to vote for Paul Wellstone. And when he dies, now I don't know, when did Paul Wellstone die? Paul Wellstone died in October. Guys, he died a few days before Election Day. And Mondale was instated days before November 5th. So much so that this benefited Republicans because Mondale had no time to prepare or campaign. The Coleman campaign took benefit. Of course, they grieved and gave condolences to Paul Wellstone. But Walter Mondale, people would be normally excited. But yeah, you'll see people came out and voted for him. But if Mondale was originally the nominee, he would have defeated Coleman for sure. But yes, this goes without saying. If Joe Biden ever is rejected, it is a chance. There is going to be a chance that it'll end up like 2002, where, the change is so severe in the party line where half of the party doesn't show up to vote. Period, because the change is so big. And that's probably what could happen in 2024. It would be the first time that would happen in a presidential election. I know it happened, some similar situation happened in Missouri, a very similar situation, I believe. I don't know if it was a governor or a senator crashed their plane after they won the primary. That very day, one governor, I believe, or senator crashed their plane on their way to a victory party just minutes after his victory in the primary. I believe it was the Democratic primary, was certified. But yes, it didn't go so well. And this is kind of the expectation going into this sort of thing. So I want to continue to react to 2024 and with Biden talk with Sky News from Australia. Everyone's talking about this, and it's a big deal because we have Joe Scarborough, MSNBC. They're saying F you to their viewers, F you to all the 77% of Americans that think Biden's too old to be president. And they tell us, including specifically Joe Scarborough, who got so emotional and riled up, and he tells us, Joe Biden's sharper than ever. He's probably the most smartest president in the country, and he could take down Trump in foreign policy. And I'm like, dude, this guy started, I don't know how many wars. I count Afghanistan as a war because people died. And I can tell you, it was a conclusion of a war. But it didn't go in our favor, right? It didn't go in our favor. So yeah, war ended. Biden didn't end it. Trump technically ended it. And Trump was expecting Biden to be a president and a leader and land the plane safely, right? Land the plane safely. But instead, Joe Biden nosedived the plane into a lake. Blew up. This is pretty much how Afghanistan went. And it's not just Afghanistan, it's Ukraine, too. This guy did nothing. In fact, Donald Trump went as far as saying, hey, you're probably just egging him on. And we get mad at Donald Trump for calling Putin smart, even though that's a fact. Because this guy, Vladimir Putin, invaded 3 countries. You gotta be a smart man to invade 3 countries. You don't like that fact? And I can tell you what, you don't give bull. You don't give BS. You give nothing. Because if this was a Democrat or Joe Biden saying Putin's smart, you wouldn't give it whatever. You wouldn't care. You're crying and raging because Trump said it. And as long as Trump is a MAGA Republican and has the letter R by his name, then everything he says is bad. So we're going to go ahead and react to Sky News's kind of reaction to the debate. 9 minutes. It's probably going to be a longer video, but you know what? This is important. This is a historic debate. People said the 2020 debate was bad, and I agree. You know what? I would admit Donald Trump kind of blew it in the 2020 debate, and that really did affect his overall performance in the general. But Joe Biden, I'm arguing, did much worse. Never in any debate has a president completely lost it. Lost all cognitive ability. And he goes as far as who's challenging Trump to a golf match. I'm like, really? You must be desperate then. Who would challenge Trump to a golf match? Are you kidding? Golf is Trump country. Golf is a Trump sport. And Biden's like, I can win golf. Yeah, I can get drive. And I'm like, okay, literally, what have we ever seen Joe Biden golf? We know we've seen Joe Biden fall off a bike. We know we've seen Joe Biden fall in general. I think he would swing the stick and it would fly out of his hands. The ball wouldn't even roll, but the stick would fly. Let's be honest, Trump would annihilate Biden in golf. That's the fact. But yes, let's take a look at Sky News. Sky News had a good laugh at this. So let's see Joe Biden's biggest fails overall.
All waiting for, and really what the audience wanted to see today was if the 81-year-old President Joe Biden could get through it without making enormous mistakes, which is unfortunately what we've been used to seeing over the last 4 years. Well, despite being in hiding for a week at Camp David with an empty schedule so his staff could prepare him for going up against Donald Trump, the moment Joe Biden entered the stage, he shuffled
7 days. Guys, 7 days of preparation. And he goes shuffled on the stage and does nothing. I mean, let's be honest. Joe Biden tried more effort to stay awake than actually coming up with talking points to take out Trump. Okay? Yeah, and we saw it. Let's continue. Yes, I'm just pointing out 7 days, guys. 7 days to prepare someone, and he still does bad, okay? Imagine if he hadn't been prepared at all. He would probably have a Mitch McConnell moment. But he almost did. He almost did have a Mitch McConnell moment where he totally almost blanked out. But he would catch himself later on. But yeah, let's take a look at those moments.
His way to the microphone, and he looked like he was in desperate need of assistance. Now, after just
okay, I don't really necessarily say that. Some people say that's bad, or that's kind of weird. Some people say, like Greg Foreman specifically claimed that, yeah, he looks sick. This looks like a sick man. And he looks like a corpse. That's the specific word he used. Like, okay, he looks like a corpse. Yeah, but to be honest, I've seen so much Biden footage. This is normal Joe Biden. As for someone who, like the moderate average voter who really doesn't care about politics, sees this for the first time, they might easily point out the flaws. He looks like a walking corpse. I, for one, being in politics and reviewing politics and looking at footage and all this stuff, this is kind of, can't really tell the difference from normal footage. This looks like Joe Biden shuffling on the stage like usual. This is like his rallies. He shuffles on the stage with an expression on his face. Kind of normal. But yes. And the other thing is, Here's the thing I also had a problem with. Instead of keeping his eyes open and kind of engaging his opponent while his opponent talks, he kind of shuts his eyes.
At the podium.
It's either he is shutting his eyes to cope about what he's done and reflect on how much damage he's done to America, or he's actually closing his eyes and trying to fall asleep. Or this is just Joe Biden clearly doesn't care. This is probably moments where I'm just so tired, I'm just so worn out from what I've done today, I just want to close my eyes and rest. You know what? I do that too. I stay up super late doing these videos for you guys so you can watch and learn. And when I wake up super early because I have a difficult schedule. And when I am riding to like church or something, I just close my eyes. I close my eyes, and sometimes I forget that I'm even in the car, in the passenger seat, riding with my family to the church. That's kind of normal, but this is evening. Okay, and not to mention, it's fine if Joe Biden experiences this, but he's the president and he's running for re-election. This isn't fine if he's running for re-election. Yes, do we all get tired? Absolutely. Especially if you're 80s. Yes, you get tired pretty much every hour or something. But people that go through that should be in a retirement home. So, bottom line, I don't know if Joe Biden was actually tired. A lot of people were saying, you know what, he was kind of concentrating, or, oh, you know what, he's just thinking, or, you know what, maybe he was falling asleep. But guess what? Never in any debate has a president actually closed their eyes and lowered their head while standing. It's like sleep standing. Come on. And liberal media, they admit this was awkward. This was bad body sign language. We saw this kind of similar sign language when Kamala Harris questioned Joe Biden on his tenure with the 1994 Crime Act, and going on the offensive against Joe Biden in the Democratic primary. But Biden had his eyes open. He lowered his head, and he kind of had to do that because he knew, oh, you know what? That 1994 crime bill was now good at the time, but now the Democratic Party is not so happy about it. And I was the one that created it. So I got to be apologetic and sympathetic and understanding and admit I was wrong. So he showed body language that he was, of course, apologetic and sympathetic and kind of gave Kamala Harris the victory. And we know he did because Kamala Harris was the one that scorched him the most, and he chose her to be his running mate. And once again, that kind of showed Joe Biden and that told America that Joe Biden is a compassionate person. That's what that was the whole narrative, and that Joe Biden's a humble person and he will take blame, but really he doesn't. He really doesn't, because if he really does take blame, and he will take the blame if it helps him in the end. And to be honest, he could be doing a way better if he said, I'm sorry for all the problems I gave you all. But really, no. But yeah, Joe Biden doesn't even know what's going on. So, continuing on.
As if he was going into a micro sleep before suddenly he opened up his eyes and he was back with us.
Yeah, I have the same thing. I mean, we all do. It depends on if you get very little sleep. In a mid-morning, late morning, like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, you're on your way, like on the school bus or something. I used to do that all the time when I went to school, you know? Everyone does. If you're a student at school right now, you'd close your eyes on the bus, trying to catch up on sleep, and you'd fall into like a light sleep. You wake up and you forget you're on the bus, and you would go back to sleep again. That's kind of normal.
Us again, and he continued to do that throughout the first half of that debate.
I know.
But that was just the beginning. When Joe Biden started speaking Well, that's when we really got into dangerous territory. He was referencing tax laws, and he claimed America has 1,000 trillionaires.
What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America.
And just him, it's not just because he made that statement. And to be honest, Joe Biden said worse. He claimed he mixed up Americans with Iranians during the State of the Union. He made a lot of mixed up words, but it's the way he's speaking.
What I'm going to do is fix
he sounds congested and he sounds just groggy. And you can clearly tell that the drugs aren't working, because if you see Joe Biden at the State of the Union this year, he was not like this. He was loud, he was vocal, and he had the teleprompter. He doesn't have the teleprompter, and he, I believe, is more focused on trying to figure out what he's supposed to say, making sure his brain's working the right way, that he isn't really focusing on how he's talking, his pronunciation. So much so that he has to say period 3 times for explanation.
Tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America.
Look, I'm not sure if that's the case, Joe Biden, but look, sounds great. And then when he was trying to make more points, it was just more rambling, waffle, and a lot of losing his train of thought.
No one could understand him. I mean, it would have to take a lot of pausing and some headsets to really understand what this guy's saying. Even Donald Trump said, yeah, I can't even understand what you're saying. So I can't even counter your debate because I didn't even hear it. So yeah, good roast.
Eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. Excuse me, with dealing.
Yeah, he goes and mixes up the words Medicare, and this is probably the worst part of his night. He says with the COVID, and he can't find his word.
Everything we have to do with look.
Okay, and then he decides to move on and say, look,
if we finally beat Medicare.
Okay, he was originally supposed to say Medicare beat, and then so essentially those words are supposed to be, they're swapped. So that's dementia right there. Beat Medicare. Okay, you can see Donald Trump's like, what?
Thank you.
And he's doing good. He could, I mean, the microphone's off. And this is all in Joe Biden's favor, by the way. Microphone's off, no audience. This is for Joe. And Joe, even with the liberal audience and on his side, he's still screwing up. And Donald Trump's just leaning back and saying, yep.
Biden, President Trump.
Then, when he wanted to make his point about abortion...
Yeah, and this is supposed to be his best one, abortion. The 2022 blue wave, right? They all came out for Roe v. Wade, but when Free Palestine comes out in Gaza, that's all gone. And Joe Biden last night had the chance to stir up some more excitement and all that stuff and get the country riled up about abortion again. Everyone was watching. Most Americans were watching. And what does he do?
Just repeated the word period 3 times.
Yeah, it's not just that. And you know what? Yeah. Period. Okay. And yeah, they're just saying, like, that's not... I think he was doing that for explanation purposes. Being the devil's advocate. And I honestly didn't even catch it.
But we are not for late-term abortion, period.
Okay, yeah, I think that's more explanation. I don't know what Sky News is trying to do there, but yeah, I could say it's kind of cringe. But yes, this guy, I think, was more focused on figuring out lines, even breaking the Democratic platform, because Democrats want abortion for everything. Woman's right to choose isn't just for in case of rape and incest. It's about for whatever she wants, right? even if it's late term, anything she wants, even if it's unrealistic and unhumane, like late term, which Donald Trump is saying, hey, you know what? That's getting a little ruthless. That's getting a little radical. Oh, you're not supposed to say that. Apparently, Joe Biden's saying, agreeing with that. So basically, he bent the knee a little bit for Trump on abortion. And honestly, we were expecting Trump to do that because, after all, Donald Trump modified his abortion beliefs. He's saying, you know what? The states ultimately should have the power to choose whether abortion should be legal or illegal. Period. Now Joe Biden switched up this was unintentional, but now he's saying late term, we're not for late term abortion. What? Out of everything, they're definitely, those hardcore progressives, the feminist left, they're definitely not going to show up to you, Joe. The ultimate feminist left wants abortion for any reason. I want a scholar degree. I want a degree in chemistry. I'm going to have an abortion because, you know what? I got in chemistry recently and I didn't think hard enough about having a sexual relationship. I didn't think of having intercourse with my BF or my boyfriend. I didn't know if I was actually going to get pregnant because of my intercourse. And they're just being dumb in general. Oh, I should have. I'm going to reject the consequence of having an intercourse, and I'm going to throw the innocent life away. Like, seriously, Joe Biden just admitted that's wrong. I think that's moral Catholic, actual Catholic Joe Biden coming in. His guardian angel actually saying, hey, Joe Biden, say this. But anyway, we know Joe Biden's getting a scolding. We know he is.
Very strong, Joe Biden. Well done. Now, nearly every journalist and commentator that I caught up with in the lead up to this debate told me that they were expecting a stronger than usual Joe Biden.
Yeah, because this was in his favor. He has CNN. He has no audience, because if there was an audience, once again, there would be, as of course, allegedly clapping, because some people are impulsive. Some people, despite moderators saying no booing, no clapping, there are going to be always some people that will probably be distracting. And Joe Biden has eyes who will catch something. And we know he sees something, like at Hollywood with Barack Obama and Jimmy Kimmel. Joe Biden clearly had his eyes on something. Remember that video? He clearly had his eyes on something and he forgot where he was. And they didn't want to risk that. So they're like, well, eliminate the audience and make sure all the mics are turned off. We're even going to turn off Joe Biden's mic. But yeah. In the end, he underperforms with a liberal platform and everything in his favor. He trashes it. And Donald Trump's reclining and saying, yep, I'm being proved right every single day.
Turn out today, due to the amount of time he had to prepare and the amount of assistance that he was getting in the lead up to this debate. But he has failed to do that today.
He constantly sat there looking at Trump. Okay, if this is how you usually look, I don't see how you would get elected. But okay, maybe you have a condition previously, but that overall doesn't affect your presidency. But we know dementia affects how you work. It destroys you over time. And Americans, this is not how Joe Biden usually looks. Imagine this being a world leader. World leader. You're a world leader of whatever country you want. And you have the president of the United States. The leader of the free world. The leader of the West. The leader of the Western democracies. Together. People of the world look at you. The leaders look at you. And you're a world leader representing a Western democracy. Across the podium from the President of the United States. And you have the President of the United States staring at you like this. Wouldn't you be uncomfortable? what did your feelings and your views towards the president of the United States change? Like, are you okay? Like, that's how I would think. If there's something wrong, you would actually essentially think there's something medically or medical emergency, or or this guy's about to collapse, or this guy's about to have a heart attack. Essentially, you would ask for assistance and aid. But we know very well our president and his medical needs. And we know this guy's not having a heart attack. We know this guy isn't collapsing. And in fact, we know that the administration is so stupid to have this guy run again, even though this guy should be in a nursing home. We know it, guys. We are insulted by liberal media, Joe Scarborough, MSNBC, telling us, oh, he's actually sharp and very smart with closed doors. Really? Joe Scarborough? You're all the way in New York City, yapping and squealing on the top of your lungs in your MSNBC anchor room. And you're expecting us to believe that Joe Biden is smart and slick behind closed doors. Wow. Yeah. And we know the White House, they're peeing their pants as they watch the debate, because in the middle of the debate, the White House says, oh, Joe Biden has a little cold. Really? Another piece of BS everywhere from this White House. Once again, they're saying they actually think we're stupid. Oh, it's not what you think, guys. It's not what you think. He has a cold. And that might be the case because he did sniff his nose a little bit. He touched his nose. Let's be honest. If you wanted Americans to believe you had a cold, you would have a Kleenex and this would hurt him more. Picking your nose? Who does that? Normal people don't do that. And if you have a world leader, the president of the United States, imagine the president of the United States picking his nose, wiping off the snot on his nose. That's childish, and that is unprofessional. So yeah, that essentially hurt Joe Biden. Oh, I don't care if it was a cold. Yeah, you essentially were unaware of the actions of what you were doing, and you were unaware that people were watching you. So that essentially hurted you. So I don't know if we're not obviously going to watch the full thing. I think we're honestly going to stop there. But what was the consequence for this debate? Well, I'll tell you, this debate has benefited Trump because Trump's almost at 2 points RCP average. And so much so, a new poll was released today from Survey USA giving Donald Trump +2. And honestly, we got to be honest, guys. This was this was a one-day poll. I would say this happened before the debate. But yeah, even so, this was before the debate, and this still benefited Trump. And just wait, because more people are realizing, yeah, Joe Biden, he can't lead. He can't lead. And look at how bad things are right now. Give 4 more years of that. Do you think we can make it through it? Most Americans would say no. And most Americans agree with Trump. Yeah, we really won't have a country. That's why I truly believe most Americans, if they like Trump or not, are going to vote for him. It's more simple and realistic to let Trump have his 4 years in office. And this is coming from the perspective of a moderate, somewhat Trump disliker. They like Trump on how his career, but necessarily don't like his presidency. And they just don't like the Biden presidency in general. This moderate American would probably say, you know what? Let's have Trump get his 4 more years back. So we don't have what they would call another repeat of 2020 election denial, quote unquote. They wouldn't have no repeat on that. Let's just let him have his 4 years. And then 2028, we start over. Start fresh. Because Republicans should say, you know what? And this might make Trump might take it the wrong way and say, hey, you're kind of demonizing me here, but in fact, this is supposed to help Trump. Then if Trump doesn't win, he's going to run again in 2028. This guy's going to get his 4 years if you like it or not. Just let him have it and be done. And this is, once again, coming from the moderate American who doesn't really align with the left or the right, the Democrat or the Republican, just is more of a skeptic. But yes, what do you guys think of Joe Biden? Will he be replaced? Like I said, it's not going to be good for Democrats either way. Democrats, specifically in The View, they're saying, oh, we should replace Joe Biden for the sake of democracy. Well, it might be better if off, but it's still not going to help you unless you get a big popular Democrat. And I don't think there is a popular Democrat. Honestly, I really don't think there is one. There is Obama, and that's the only guy. And Obama, yeah, he served 4 years, and he dipped down with approval once in a while. But yeah, imagine Democrats going through the law and trying to get Obama in for a third term. Heck, I think he's technically president now, right? But what if they actually get him in? These people are manipulative. Very manipulative, guys. They'll claim that anything is fine, even violating Donald Trump's rights and surgically transforming the justice system in your version and violating multiple constitutional rights in the name of democracy. And they're fine with it. We're fine with it. And we do nothing about it. Nothing. Imagine what they will do in efforts to get Obama back in. They might get Michelle Obama in. And I'll tell you, it's going to be consequential. Michelle Obama, I don't know if she could win, but then again, just like John McCain in 2008, people loved him. Before he ran for office, John McCain was known for his story in Vietnam and overall had an excellent electoral history, 80% of votes in Arizona. And he ended up losing to Obama by 45%. That's because of the Great Recession and overall the GOP unpopularity in general. Essentially, John McCain defended George W. Bush's Iraq War and came out and defended Bush's economic policies. That didn't necessarily make him look good. Michelle Obama coming out and defending Biden, especially in cases like the Israel-Hamas war, could end up like John McCain in 2008. So that's just what I'm saying. It could backfire multiple ways. And this election season has been disaster in every single way for Democrats so far. So expect the worst. Expect the worst. Don't get your hopes up. And before I end this video, I have made it clear. This cycle is in Trump's favor. Everything's going good for Trump. This is probably the best thing that's happened to Trump prior to the conviction, after the conviction, all that stuff. But I want to have a realistic mindset. Guys, I'm being very, very honest. I've been concerned since, specifically on July 11th, because July 11th will be the day where we figure out and we find out if Trump 2024 is going to happen or not. If the judge decides to show mercy and actually be on the side of democracy and let Trump run, we will win. There's no way Joe Biden's going to win. And I can guarantee you, they're going to cancel that second debate. They're going to cancel it. It's not going to happen. But if Donald Trump is sentenced to prison in a cell, he will suspend his campaign. there is no way he will win in a jail cell. I'm telling you guys, that will probably benefit in his favor. People will feel bad for him. Majority of the Americans will be angry, but do you think for a fact that majority of those angry Americans will come out and vote for him? A lot of Americans would give up hope, saying, yeah, he's in jail. And by that time, the GOP would probably pick another guy. That's why I'm telling you guys, that's what could happen on July 11th. I'm not discouraging you. I'm not being, I would say, pessimistic. I'm excited, but I'm somewhat concerned of the 11th. We need, a lot of people are saying, oh, if Trump must secretly want to go to jail. Well, here's the thing. Just like if you throw someone down the hole with a rope, that doesn't mean that person's going to come back up, because the rope is much shorter than expected. Or if you throw the ladder down, the ladder is super tiny, you would essentially need 3 ladders to get back up, and you only have 1 ladder. You underestimated the size of the hole. And I'm afraid if Trump goes to prison, a lot of the Republicans will be sad, mad, and a lot of them will say this is opportunity to get Trump back up into, yeah, there's a chance, yeah, get him into prison, but we are probably not gonna get him out. He's in there, and he's stuck. There's a chance that, you know what, he gets lucky, we successfully overturn this ridiculous conviction, and he gets freed. Or this overturning, well, as you know, will happen next year, by the way, or we're just unsuccessful in general, and Donald Trump is not getting out of jail. We can't rely, and he can't rally around the country in a jail. He can't, like, imagine this guy doing Zoom meetings in his jail cell. I think could get tons of views, but it's not the same as someone going to state to state to state. It's not the same. And that's why I am certain he would suspend his campaign. And I'm praying that day does not happen. So, guys, we need to pray specifically that Trump doesn't go to jail. Because right now, Trump wants to keep his base optimistic. He doesn't want to reflect on possibility of jail time, because that's going to pessimize his base, make him unconfident, and that's strategically smart. But we need to cautiously remind ourselves the future of this election is in the power of this one judge. So much power. American history is in this judge's hands. Is this judge going to have this guy jailed and having another GOP nominee like Doug Burgum, or essentially possibly whatever Trump chooses as VP or running mate, be the potential GOP nominee? Or is this judge going to be merciful and follow the Constitution? But being from New York and Manhattan, it's a 50-50 chance. The jury for sure. If this one jury member, one of the jury that voted to convict them, they would definitely jail this guy. But yeah, pray, guys. I'm not kidding. We got to pray for Trump 2024. We need this man for president of the United States. This is the only man who can fix our economy. This is the only man that can stop us from getting into World War III. This is the only man that can stop the immigration crisis. This is the only man that can save the United States of America. I want to thank you all for watching this video. I'll see you all in the next political episode.